Hey everybody, welcome to the Bar Talk Happy Hour. I am back, and as promised, I have a very special guest on the line with us today. We've interviewed him before, so he's not a stranger to Mix Country 106 or the Bar Talk Happy Hour, but I'd like to give it up for Mr. Randy Seymour. Welcome back, Randy. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. I'm glad to be back on, my friend.
Absolutely. The last time we had you on, the big hit coming out was Before Elvis Was the King, and I'm still digging that song.
Well, and once again, that was another one of those things that I hadn't really intended on putting out. I had another record I was thinking about putting out at that time, and I was had employed a couple of record promoters, and they both said, "Hey, are you going to do that Before Elvis song?" And I said, "Well, I hadn't intended on it." They said, "Oh, you got to put that out." I said, "Well, that doesn't seem to kind of fit in with everything else." They said, "Exactly. That's why we want to do it. It's different." And I said, "Okay." So I rushed into production to get a little music video together. My wife went out and we shot it, and I edited it together so I would have a promotional piece for it. And the record went really well. It actually, in the Texas music charts, actually charted in the top 20 for that year. So I was pleasantly surprised and also glad that the record did what it did, because it was a true story written by my Uncle Gene. And I know Uncle Gene was looking down, helping that thing along. So that was a lot of fun.
That's how Uncle Gene told it to me, and that's all right.
That's it.
I love that song. I mean, at first, I wasn't kind of thinking where the song was going to go, but it was an absolute earworm to me. Uh, I just love the rhythm, the melody of that song. It really, you couldn't help but like it. And the style you did, the classic styling, that kind of classic rock melody structure, I guess, if you will, it was just so good. Um,
Well, the musically, I mean, it really comes from my rockabilly roots, because I was born in Memphis. I grew up here in Texas, but my dad was from Memphis, and he went to college and all that back in the day when Elvis was starting to come up in Memphis, Tennessee, and so around my house when I was a kid, there was a lot of that music being played on the stereo. So it sort of influenced me, rubbed off on me, and then later on, I got to write songs and hang out with a guy by the name of Carl Perkins, who wrote and recorded Blue Suede Shoes back in 1956. So a lot of Carl's music rubbed off on me there. So I just decided just to go all the way with that record and go, you know what, this just needs to be a straight up rockabilly, rocking, let's have a good time. And Carl used to call it, and I actually call it that too. We have all these different uh, genres of music, but people ask Carl all the time. They said, "What kind of music do you play?" He said, "Man," he said, "I play feel good music. I play music that people can feel good listening to." So that's what that Before Elvis. That's how it came out. I said, let me just make this into a feel good song. So that's what happened.
yeah, that is excellent. What I think too is just the way that you sing songs. I mean, I'm just looking at a few of the other songs like Lukenbach, Old Gray Dog, Refuge. Let's see, Roll Me. Oh yeah, Roll Me Another One. Yep. And those are
Mm-hmm.
all songs that we still spin here on Mixed Country 106. By the way,
Cool.
so they're all in
Thank you.
rotation. Some of them rotate a little bit more, but you know what I gotta say is, before we talk about your brand new single that you just released, I think you said over Labor Day, right before we started, recording here. Um, what with that song and obviously everything else? Have you been touring? Have you been promoting still these other music songs, I guess, or these other songs, if you will, on stage? And if so, where have you been to?
Well, I'm what you would consider probably a troubadour. I used to carry a band with me, but it got to be a little too much of a hassle to try to take a band into smaller, intimate places where they listen to original music. So I kind of disbanded the band, so to speak. And so now I play mostly listening rooms throughout the Southeast. I play a lot here in Texas where I live. So my audience has been growing here in Texas for the last couple of years, especially, and especially with these records getting high in the Texas regional radio charts and things like that. So yeah, I mean, the places that I play are listening rooms primarily, and I'll usually do just a couple hours in a winery or a listening room or something like that. So it's a different thing because when I first started out doing this kind of stuff, and like I said, I worked with a band a lot. It was really more about the late night hours and laying down a beat and a groove and getting people moving and getting people basically buying a lot of drinks and having a big time. Now it's shifted to I'm telling my stories and people are honestly having a good time listening to them, and I'm having a good time telling them. So, and I've accumulated a lot of stories. I don't know whether your listeners know this or not, and I'm sure that you'll be aware of it as soon as I tell you. But I'm fixing to turn 65, so I've had a lot of adventures, and I've been able to turn them out. The songs that you hear that I write are they're from personal experience. So I always try to come with that simply because it feels more honest once it gets laid down and once it gets crafted. If it's something that I lived or something that I'm feeling that's honest, that's usually when I commit myself to a song and to a record. So and the new song really isn't that much different from that, and it's interesting in its own right. So, but yeah, I have actually never stopped going out and playing on these songs and showcasing them along with those stuff too, because I have a lot of other type of music that other people have written that I'm friends with songwriters and things like that. I feature their songs too, because a lot of times what I always say is if I hear a song that I really love, the first thing I say is, boy, I wish I'd have written that. And then the next thing I say is, I'm going to steal that and I'm going to sing it in my show.
I think that's really interesting because what I find interesting is that like you said, you're doing a lot of listening rooms now. You're doing a lot of South Texas and all of that. But you know what? I kept when we were really pushing before Elvis was the king. When we were really pushing that one, the most requests for that song actually came from our UK audience.
Yeah, they love rockabilly music.
Yes,
there,
and
really do.
That really surprised you. So I would say, I wouldn't say you're an old gray dog, Randy, at all. By any stretch of the imagination, you're still kicking butt and taking names.
Nothing wrong. No, nothing wrong with that, Odie. I'm telling you, I didn't get to be this old by being completely stupid, but I did get this old by being fairly lucky. So
luck has a lot to do with it, but I think it's pure talent. Now, we're going to talk to Randy all coming up in the next segment here, all about his brand new single, Jimmy Buffett Song. Obviously, it's in homage to the late and great Jimmy Buffett. We'll be back talking all about that song coming up right here on the Bar Talk Happy Hour. Welcome back to the Bar Talk Happy Hour. We are back once again with Randy Seymour. We had a great conversation talking about, of course, before Elvis was the king and what he's been up to, where he's been singing at. Now, we're going to be talking all about his brand new song called A Jimmy Buffett Song, just released just in the past couple weeks. We're one of the first stations to get to interview him to talk about this song. We're super excited. Randy, are you just trying to win over all the parrot heads out there?
Well, that would be, a worthwhile endeavor, but no, I think this song, the ending of how this song started, had to do with so many folks that I have sang live for who are definitely committed parrot heads. And to be a parrot head, you don't really necessarily have to dress the dress or talk the talk or walk the walk, but you have to kind of have that sort of want to live vicariously in that, kind of southern free wheeling, breezing type of a way, where, like for instance, Jimmy was an avid outdoorsman. I know so many guys who that's what they admire Jimmy Buffett for, is what a great outdoorsman he was. I mean, he was a great hunter, fisherman. He could do all those cool things that that you think of younger people doing: parasailing, windsurfing. He was a pilot.
Mhm.
He afforded himself a lot of things that a lot of people aspire to do, and they think these things that they aspire to do, they connect those things with freedom, with being a free spirit, and it's so that's kind of where a Jimmy Buffett song is sort of is paying homage to. Okay, this is this is for all of y'all out there and all of us who have one time or another lived vicariously through a Jimmy Buffett song that we completely identify with. So yeah, I mean, not to win over any parrot heads, but I worked on this record. Oddly enough, this all started out quite innocently back in, I don't know, 2013. I was on this board and we were putting together an Elvis show in Nashville for Belmont College. They were doing they were doing a scholarship fund. Well, one of the guys who showed up to be on the board was a guy named Norbert Putnam. The reason why Norbert was on it is he played on a lot of Elvis's records and he knew Elvis personally. So I sat next to him and I handed him a record that I was working on. And he comes back the next month and he goes, "Boy," he says, "I really love that record. We should really work together." And I thought, why do you want to work with me? You're retired. You've done all this stuff. He basically produced Margaritaville and at least about a half a dozen Jimmy Buffett albums. Norbert was really the one instrumental in coming up with Jimmy's sound, his Gulf and Western sound, as they say it, or they call it a trop rock sound now, is what they call it. That was kind of Norbert's doing. He's the one who brought in, things like marimbas and things that like flutes and different things like that to kind of give it that sort of Tropic of Cancer feel that all of Jimmy's records started coming out with. So when I started, bringing songs to Norbert, I was working on this song, and all of a sudden, just accidentally, the whole "Living My Life" through a Jimmy Buffett song just kind of fell out in the middle of
Mm.
a song I'm working on, and I played it for him, and he goes, "How'd you come up with that?" I said, "Totally by accident." I said, "I was not even going there." I said, "I was wanting to write a song about, the beach and all this kind of stuff and everything." And I said, all of a sudden it turned into this. He goes, "Well, I love it." So we sat down and we worked on it together a little bit, and we recorded it down in Muscle Shoals at a place called the Nut House. And Norbert's actually playing the bass on it. He's an accomplished professional bass player as well. So he and I produced this record together. And simply by virtue of that, I thought, well, this is really great for this song to have Norbert all over it. And he's such a sweetheart of a guy too. You love talking to Norbert because he has such great stories. He has great Jimmy Buffett stories. Um, so I told him, I said, "Well, what do you think we should do with this?" He goes, this was when Jimmy was still alive. He said, "Well, we should try to get this to Mac McAnally to see what he thinks of it." So we got it to Mac McAnally. Mac was like, "Well, this is a great song, but Jimmy doesn't want to record this. This is somebody else's singing.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it myself. And then when 2020 came along, I had all this film footage that I had shot with my brother out in California on this song. And so I kept wanting to make a really cool music video out of it. But I want to do something different. And I was learning animation at the time. And when 2020 came along, everything got shut down. All of a sudden, I had
Mhm.
all this extra time on my hands. So I created animation for the song and for the music video. So the music video itself is sort of a mishmash of my brother filming me over in Monte Carlo, being shot over there doing some singing, and then of course the animation, which I came up with as well. So I put this out last year on the after Jimmy had passed away. I just put it out for like a day, and I got such good response from it. And Norbert even called me up and he said, we should really think about putting this out. And I said, well, let me wait and give it a year, because I said right now I don't want to feel like I'm cashing in on something. And I hate that.
Mm.
this is Jimmy's moment. This is his moment to shine. I said, let's give it a year. He goes, okay. So we gave it a year, put it out this year, and it's really, really caught on, and people are really, really digging it. And I am just so happy that it's getting the kind of reaction that it is.
And it's really cool. It's hard to not like a Jimmy Buffett song. I don't care who you are, what age demographic you are. It's hard not to like songs about Jimmy Buffett and the style of that. And what's really cool, I didn't know you worked with Norbert. That's so cool because you're right. He was
Yeah,
so iconic. But I'm also surprised that you guys didn't like pitch the song to Alan Jackson or something like that because Lord knows, he was very prolific and good friends with Jimmy throughout his career. And of course, Margaritaville, and my favorite concert with them was with George Strait, Alan Jackson, and all of them doing that huge concert. It must have been the late '90s or early 2000s out in Texas. It was
yep,
this big, big
yeah.
live concert.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and that it's funny because I've played at Margaritaville in their locations, a few of their locations around the country, and they always show that video on the breaks on the big screen. You got this big, and there they are, and there's Kenny Chesney, and oh, there's Alan Jackson. Oh my God, there's Jimmy Buffett. And then all of a sudden, hey, well, look, there's Zach Brown. Hey,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's like wow, this is like trop rock overload is what it is, man.
It-
But it's so good. You're right. The music itself is very laid back, and I'll tell you how that music was created. When Jimmy was writing songs, he came to Norbert. The record label had gotten a message from Jimmy. He hated his record that he had recorded, which had Come Monday on it, and so they said, "Well, we'll introduce you to this producer named Norbert Putnam." So they introduced him to Norbert. Norbert says, "I don't understand." He said, "Your record was great." He said, "Why do you want to do something with me?" He said, "Because I want my records to sound like my band." He says, "Well, what does your band sound like?" He said, "Well, me and my band, we sound like the Rolling Stones playing Come Monday." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess I got to hear this." So one thing led to another. And so when he started playing songs, so Norbert said, these songs have all this stuff about being a sailor and fishing in the ocean. He said, we should go down to Miami and record. So they went down to Criterion Studio in Miami and started recording. And then they would take the mixes out every day when they would get done recording, and they would go out on Jimmy's 40-foot sailboat and listen to him. And Norbert, when he was listening to the mixes, that's where he got the idea to put all the sounds of what would be like around the ocean and around the water and stuff. And so they actually created that out of the feel of riding on Jimmy's boat out there in close to Miami Beach and all that kind of stuff in Coconut Grove. So that's how the whole sound really evolved. And there's so many people who've borrowed from that sound, and rightfully so, because it's a great way to basically paint a picture for a record and for a song that has those types of things in it.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah. And now, what's the ultimate goal, I guess, here with a Jimmy Buffett song? What do you want people to get out of this song?
It's just like everything else. I just want people to have a good feeling from it, and I want people that basically have lived vicariously through a Jimmy Buffett song, whether it's small boats, or whether it's pirate looks at 40, or cheeseburger in paradise. All these different songs, volcano, all these different songs that Jimmy has. On the surface, they're a lot of fun, but if you dig down deep, you find out that lyrically, there's a lot going on there lyrically, and that's why people keep coming back to those songs. So I'd like for this song to basically achieve the same effect. I want people to kind of dig down deep and go, "Well, wait a minute, I get that. That's going on. Hey, I'm there, man. I'm there." So there you
Yeah.
go.
So what's next for you, Randy? What you got on your immediate plans here? You're going to be touring? You working on a new album? What you got coming out?
Well, I'm not working on a new album right now because I've been diving into my artwork. I'm going back to, when I started out as a kid, I was a guy who painted all kinds of pictures and stuff. And so, here, let me get something. I'll get something real quick to show you real quick.
Sure. While Randy does that, I just want to mention that we have been so impressed with Randy and how well he's done with our station, and he's so dedicated to what he does. And him and his team have the best communication with us here on the Bar Talk Happy Hour. And we just really want to thank these artists enough. You notice that sometimes like Randy's here twice. We've had other artists here 2 or 3 times. What's really cool is we value those relationships with these artists. And so to have Randy on here twice and sharing this and following his path and his career is just really special. And we hope you guys really enjoy it. Randy, holy cow, let's look at this thing.
Now, this is a strange little art piece that I created out of a song called Elvis and Jesus. And this isn't exactly what I do, but then it is part of what I do. So I created this with some watercolor a few years ago. And so I'm getting back into doing a lot of this right now. And what this will do is this is going to make me get back into writing some newer songs and stuff like that. So one sort of begets the other creatively. So right now I'm getting into my phase of doing stuff like that. So there you go. Elvis and Jesus is the name of that one.
Elvis and Jesus. Well, there's a combination. That painting is so unique. And for those listening on radio who could not see that, we might have to ask Randy kindly if we can get a snippet of that to put on our social media so you guys can see that.
I'll throw you a JPEG of that. You can throw it up there.
Cool. It's really unique. I like it. But I wanted to laugh at it actually. I smirked a little.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's basically, it's not dark humor, but it is somewhere between light and gray humor.
Gray humor. Let's call it that. What a great way to end that. What a great way to end this interview, hearing a Jesus and Elvis together. Randy Seymour, everybody. Make sure you guys go check him out. Where's your website? Where's your social medias at, Randy?
I'm still at a place called Randy Initial C Moore, RandyCmoore.com. Everything that I'm doing ends up on that darn thing. And then I'm on Facebook, Randy C. Moore Music, and friends of Randy C. Moore. So, and there's some stuff that'll be coming up in the future, but you'll have to look at, anybody who wants to know will have to look at that thing to see what is actually for real going to happen, not what I am theoretically would do. So,
gotcha. All official notices.
It's always different. So.
And Randy, we hope to have you back here on the show in the future. Don't be a stranger. You can always reach out to us anytime.
Oh, thanks for featuring me, man. This is a blast. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. We will be back in just a moment here to say goodbye, maybe get your concert calendars out, and we'll be back here with more on the Bar Talk Happy Hour.